Hey guys, welcome back to another Monster Hunter video. With the spring event being almost at our doorstep, I thought this was a good time to recap all the major title updates and monsters coming out in Monster Hunter Wilds. This list only includes what's been actually found in the game's files via data mining, now that the first update title already confirmed that many of the leaks from before were indeed correct. We've also got some new outfits, so without further ado, let's jump right in. But coming up first, Alma is getting more love in terms of outfits. There were 4 Datamined outfits for her discovered in the game's files, with 3 already released. So besides the regular, the paid handler DLC, and the free one we got last week via title update 1, there's a 4th one tied to the Spring Festival, which launches on the 22nd. And looking at the event quest officially posted by Capcom from the last week of April to early May, this is likely the one that's given via the mission called That Won't Work on Me, a tempered Shubu hunt that also gives us the sealed eye patch alpha that we talked about in the last video. So really nice over there. I hope that they continue with bringing more themes and more outfits for at least one of the companions, though I kinda keep some hopes high for Jamma also getting some on top. Given that it's a character we interact with so often, I think that it definitely deserves at least a bit of love in that department. But besides this, let's also talk about future title updates. Yes, we are at that stage right now, but so much datamine work has been done ever since the game came out in open beta, and there's pretty much content in there for at least up until title update 3 right now in the game's files. There are some strong hints of a possible June release date for title update 2, since obviously there's also going to be a summer festival around that time. But as always with data mining, things can change. The company can reschedule stuff, so nothing is set in stone until we actually get an official announcement. That being said, the strongest candidates for the next 2 title updates are Lagiacrus and Seregios, with the first having been teased already in the last Capcom livestream presentation, and we now know that it's definitely coming out in title update 2. So you're going to find all of this information in the sources down below. Of course, huge shout out to all the data mining work that Reddit has also been doing, as well as the official Discord. But there were strong indications that both of these monsters were in fact parts of the base game, at least initially, but Capcom ultimately decided to cut them from the game last minute, supposedly because of performance and bug fixing reasons. And as a result, were delayed into post-launch content, with a pretty solid chance that we might see them each launching in their own separate title updates instead of both at the same time. And now that we've literally seen the teaser for title update 2 featuring Lagiacrus, that leaves off Seregios as a likely title update 3 candidate on his own. And I'm saying that because Capcom has kind of been drip feeding content in Wilds as of late, and they've got quite a bit of catching up to do as well in terms of the missing features. I mean, at the current time, they're still actively working on bringing layered weapons and the creature display, among many others, plus of course all the balancing changes that they want to do. So while it's still not completely out of the question that title update 2 may be even bigger than we thought, I'm not keeping hopes too high that we're going to get both of these monsters in the summer update. I just don't think they have the time for that, even though technically there were strong hints that both of these monsters were already finalized. It was just some bugs and performance affecting their spawns. But if title update 1 is anything to judge by, my current expectation and safe bet on future title updates is pretty much similar. So 1 new monster plus 1 arch-tempered apex per title update, plus the corresponding festival, and 1-2 new extra features, besides the other returning event quests and arena challenges that get recycled all the time. But there's actually more in terms of data mining being done over here. On Lagiacrus, we at least know that his nest is located right here in the Scarlet Forest, Area 12, behind this waterfall right here. Right now, if you go inside, you can access a fishing zone, plus you can dive underwater, but if you pay attention in the back, there's actually an inaccessible area blocked by some boulders. However, you can check it out with the free cam mod, and this pretty much reveals a hidden layer surrounded by water, blue crystals inside of it, a bunch of smaller waterfalls, and pretty much a nest right here in the middle of the platform. And further data mining info labels this place as Zone 19 Lagiacrus Nest, which is obviously the best indication we have. Also, internal IDs corresponding to the monster still remain consistent and have been since at least Monster Hunter generations, so data miners were obviously capable of determining this is indeed its layer. As far as the other goes, this was likely removed even closer to launch compared to Lagiacrus, possibly right even before the release, according to some of the data mines. And like I said, this is why I think that this is going to have a much higher chance to be part of the title update 3. And the thing about it is that it was also in a very advanced state of development. Both the male, female, and the pelican armors were all completed all the way back during the open beta data mining, as well as most of the weapons, maybe with a couple of exceptions, including the switch axe, but everything else was pretty much completed. Now, what's interesting in both of these scenarios is if everything went according to plan and both Seregios and Lagiacrus launched with the game, we would have encountered them relatively early in the game story. So initially, both the icon IDs as well as the armors seem to come in a very specific order, right around monsters such as Rathalos and Gravius, indicating that we would have encountered them around the time we fought those two monsters in the main story. But obviously that was the case back then. Recent Datamines point out that the order has obviously changed and it's going to be after the Numinous armor and some of the other stuff that was added with the Zoshia updates. But in terms of more information, some game points over here in terms of the Seregios encounter is that it seems to feature various status resistances, including to paralysis and poison. I'm not sure if it featured resistances to these two statuses in the previous games, also applying an abnormal status himself, which was further indicated by the fact that there's an in-game prompt developed to recommend a meal that gets rid of the ailment that Seregios is supposed to apply. So in this case, the immunizer meal was the one that was being talked about. Now, another very important topic is obviously the arch-tempered enemies. We know that besides the title updates bringing one new monster, there's also going to be an arch-tempered corresponding enemy. And there are 5 of those confirmed from the game's files. So pretty much every single Apex minus Magala can be arch-tempered. So in this case, we started with Raid Dao, but eventually we should get Uthdunanu Udra and Jindahad plus arch-tempered Arkveld will be the last. If current information on arch-tempered Raid Dao is anything to go by, expect these monsters to be even bigger of a challenge, especially that arch-tempered Arkveld is definitely going to be a treat. More HP, more aggression, faster attacks, and possibly even featuring stronger versions of their existing abilities. Like for example, we saw that arch-tempered Raid Dao seems to cover his body in skills more often than before and leaves off large AoE electricity bursts compared to his normal counterparts. Some folks were even able to spawn arch-tempered Raid Dao in-game via mods, and it seems that's pretty much the extent or as far as his abilities go, at least in terms of what's right now in the game's files. But chances are that's going to be what we get on the 29th as well. Of course, that Raid Dao Gamma set also looked really promising and likely a candidate for many upcoming meta sets, given its headpiece already having some very strong bonuses there, both weakness exploit, maximum might, as well as the massive convenience provided by the remaining tier 3 gem slot, as well as the fact that the new set skill bonus over there only needs 3 set pieces, which makes it work really great with the Magala without having to sacrifice the 2 set bonus. So hopefully Capcom will continue to try and shift the meta even more with future tempered sets to kinda change things around and bring us more options in the endgame. But since we're still on the subject of the Magala pieces, what's interesting is that the boss doesn't seem to feature any arch-tempered forms, at least not from the data mining work. So what's possible, and there's been some speculation on this, there's possibly an even stronger version of it that we may eventually see emerging in later title updates, albeit purely speculative for now. What we know for sure is that the Magala keeps roaming to other regions more and more, possibly spreading that frenzy virus to other species as well. For example, in Title Update 1, it seems to have already moved to Wyveria as well, not just to Ice Shard Cliffs or Wounded Hollows. So it's possible that we're going to see an overarching story that eventually brings us to a pretty epic conclusion. Also, end of May, Title Update 1.5, as it's unofficially being called, also has some other features coming in. Capcom already announced a part of them officially, including the enhanced 8-star versions of all the Apexes in the game, including Magala. So pretty much all of them will have stronger variants to fight at the tempered level, plus of course all the other balance changes. This also included those buffs to the hammer and some other adjustments 2 existing items as well that we talked about in the previous video. And this is before factoring in the endemic live viewing list plus the Capcom collaboration, and this is where things kind of get murky. Right now, all we know is that the collaboration will be with another Capcom title. So the two theories going on right now is that it's either going to be DMC or it's going to be Dragon's Dogma. Well, DMC because there's a show going on right now and it literally just launched on Netflix, so it kind of makes sense, and there's some data mine going on that shows there's literally a similar armor ID as it was back in Monster Hunter World that features the same number, so it's probably that. But at the same time, it could also be Dragon's Dogma 2 that released not too long ago, which could also be a likely candidate. Though again, Capcom hasn't been doing much with that for quite a while at this point, and I'm not even sure where the DLC even sits at now. Now, obviously, I wanted to focus more on what's been at least found in an advanced state in the game's files. There are some partially confirmed monsters in there as well, and without going too far deep into speculation, at least there were some mentions, either directly or indirectly, of at least 2 new other monsters, including Zinogre and Gugmazios. So in terms of the first one, we got an updated model for the 20th anniversary via winning the vote back last year. While not being mentioned in the game files at all, it was part of a leak back last year that so far proved to be completely accurate in terms of the monster release schedule. So supposedly that's going to be coming out in a future title update, but it's also possible to be kept for an expansion later on. Right now, the information on that is kind of murky. For the second one, there are some indications in the game. Some code present in the game's files seems to give some pretty strong indications that Gugmazios was also at least thought of at some point before the game launched. Maybe even as old as the OBTs, given the fact that the Tard status effect seems to have been referenced all the way back then. But on a final note, in terms of future content and festival info, Datamined armor IDs suggest that each festival will see at least 2 armor sets being featured, acquired via festival-specific activities and festival-specific drops. The 2 spring ones already partially confirmed that, since the spring festival gives us 2 armor sets, including my personal favorite, the Sakura Tide set, which in my opinion looks really awesome, and it does have some unique effects on it as well. And also the Sakura Tides, in terms of the list of materials, we do have a data mine for that as well, and we get at least a couple new ones that seem to be directly involved in crafting those items. So this includes the Blossom Dance tickets and the Blossom Dance catalogs that drop via this event. And thanks to the event page being updated, we of course know that at least the Blossom Alpha set, part of the update is obtained by collecting these mats from the new event quest Daughter of Caribous, launching on the 22nd. So that's the duo fight against the Lalabarina, which is going to look really interesting. I cannot wait to get instant paralyzed all the time, but it looks pretty interesting. So this is pretty much it in terms of most of the stuff that has been at least partially confirmed by Datamines. Everything else besides this seems to be speculation, but from the looks of it, at least the first year of Monster Hunter Wilds content doesn't look that bad, all things considered. Obviously, more could have been done. Those 2 monsters could have been part of the game day 1, but for obvious reasons, they had to delay it. But besides that, there were definitely other titles I played in recent years that definitely had way less content, way more sparse and far in between than this. So yeah, looking forward to what Capcom has in store in terms of content updates in the future. This is pretty much it with the video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.